All right, so first mile, 6:45.
So we slowly decrease the number of reps, but we increase the distance of the reps. Hi, good morning. It is Monday and it's around 10 a.m. and today we are planning on building out an entire training plan for the upcoming 10 weeks. This upcoming 10 weeks is kind of busy for me. I was supposed to be in Oregon for this upcoming week. I was supposed to be out there filming some stuff for a brand, and that kind of all got canceled, and so we weren't able to actually make the shoot happen, which was kind of a bummer because I was really looking forward to the trip. I had all my flights booked, we had all the accommodations set up, we had everything, and so October's pretty busy for me. Getting married on the 18th, then I'm going to be out in Massachusetts from the 20th through the 27th, and I'm back here at the end of October, and then I'm not sure what November is going to look like, but planning on getting a pretty good training build in November and December, and then potentially running a half marathon in December to see where the fitness is. So today I wanted to take you through the process of how I build out a full training plan and how I build out like a 10-week plan like I'm planning on doing today. But first off, we're gonna go to a coffee shop. I gotta get some work done for New Balance, gotta write out some concepts, planning on making some videos for New Balance coming up in the next month or two, and so have to get those concepts out, and then also just kind of have some other work I have to do. It's about a block away, it's raining right now, so I'm probably gonna drive, but that's how we're gonna get the morning started.
One more than it's over. I don't think it goes any lower. I'm done picking clovers.
All right, so I finished up the New Balance concepts earlier. Now I'm working on a training plan, and I've been doing that for a couple hours as well. And so most of the day has been devoted to New Balance and getting this training plan together. And so I think I just finished up the training plan. I think I have it all outlined, but it's time to go for a run. It's like 6 p.m. right now, and I've just been doing that all day, literally just sitting there, poring over the plan, poring over the concepts for New Balance, back and forth on both of those. And now I'm like, oh, it's 6 p.m. So today, based on what I've created on the training plan, we have somewhere between 4.2 and 4.8 miles. So if I leave from the house, there's about a 4.2 mile loop that I usually run. And so I think I'm gonna go run that one and just come back here and whatever I'm at. Goal pace today is somewhere between 6:40 and 7 flat pace, so kind of like an easier pace. Nothing too fast, but not like slow 9-minute pace jog or anything. So just gonna run like 4 miles at that pace, and that's kind of be what we do today. But I think we're gonna have a pretty good week planned. Should have somewhere between 30 and 35 miles this week, and then at the peak in the build, I kind of have us peaking at 60 to 65, I think. And so we're just gonna kind of build up the intensity. Intensity is gonna be a lot higher. We're gonna be doing usually 4 sessions a week, sometimes 3 sessions a week. It kind of depends. We go back and forth, but 3 to 4 sessions a week on average. And so ends up being a bit higher intensity. And so we're gonna do less miles and more intensity, because we already have the aerobic system we built up over the last 10 weeks. And so this past week has just been really easy miles, been running 2 to 3 miles a day, just whenever I feel like it. And so this is like my first day back of like, okay, let's just get out here and run some and see where we are. And so my watch recommends that I run 15-second reps at 3:30 pace. I think that's kind of interesting. I'm gonna get started. All right, so first mile, 6:45. It's like I feel kind of weird. I don't know. My HRV was like really low when I woke up this morning. Didn't sleep too well this weekend. Had my bachelor trip, had a few drinks, and like impacts like sleep quality and recovery and everything. So maybe I'm just like still recovering from that. But honestly, like, I don't know, I'm running 6:45 pace right now. Pretty comfortable. All right, so mile 1 was 6:45. Mile 2 was like 6:25, and mile 3 was like 6:22. And so a little bit faster what we were going for, but like, I don't know, I'm just running. Sometimes you just need to go out the door and run, not think about anything. I don't feel like I'm working all that hard. All right, that's 4.2. Whew. Yeah, I feel like that was a harder effort than it should have been. I feel like usually I can run that pace pretty comfortably without getting the heart rate up pretty high, but got up kind of higher today. Honestly, I just like had really good sleep last night, and pretty good sleep the night before, but terrible sleep 2 nights ago, or like 3 nights ago. So I'm at a point where I'm like, yeah, maybe it's just catching up to me, recovery and stuff. And so, yeah, I just need to get on top of it, need to recover, make sure I'm hydrated, make sure everything's good. But heart rate was getting up to like 165. I felt like I was chilling, but still at 165 like at the end. And so I think I'm just a little extra strained, maybe just a little stressed. I don't know, but it wasn't that bad of a run. It was pretty good. We're gonna be out here again tomorrow morning, pretty early, doing some 800s. And so do some 800s at around 230 to 235 pace. We're gonna see if we can do like 8 of them, and that's gonna be the goal. So looking forward to it. Excited to get back out. Yeah.
All right, so it's 5:15 and we're out here at the track. About to get a little bit of a workout in, meeting out with a crew. Today I'm planning on doing 8 by 800 at around 230, 235 and doing 60-second standing rest between those. And so we're just gonna kind of just get out here, just run that. That's gonna be the bulk of the volume today too, and like the mileage. So we'll probably get like a mile warm up and a mile cool down, and whatever that ends up being. Just trying to put a new stimulus on it, a new stress, and just see how the body responds, see how it feels today. I don't know what to expect, but we'll probably start off on the slower end of things, like the 235 range. Yeah, 235 wasn't exactly in the cards today. Finished up the run, and I would say it went pretty well. We got out a little bit fast, and we kept it fast pretty much the whole time, and so the pace was a little bit faster than what I was aiming for, but at the same time we're doing like not that high of volume. Was able to average probably 226, and so 226 was kind of the number that I was able to hit, and that felt smooth. It felt like pretty comfortable, and like obviously got a little bit challenging toward the end, especially with 60-second rest. Like you're just standing there, and like next thing you know, you have 10 seconds, and you're like, okay, now we got to go again. The short rest, it was always a challenge to get up and do the next rep, but we were able to make it happen, and I think we kept it under control. It was challenging enough. It wasn't the hardest workout I've ever done, but it wasn't the easiest, and so just a nice little stimulus. We averaged, like I said, probably about 226, and it was kind of humid this morning, kind of like muggy out here, and so being able to do that with the conditions, definitely sweating a lot, definitely need some food, need to recover. Today's gonna be a day of hanging out, getting some work done, editing, packing orders, and yeah. So let's head back to the house and get some breakfast. Okay, so I wanted to kind of take you guys through what my training plan is looking like for the upcoming next 12 weeks. And for most of October, I might be kind of lenient with this. Like I have a wedding coming up, I have a honeymoon coming up, I have stuff that I'm just not gonna be like super focused in on, like, oh, I have to get out and get this medium run with 30 minutes at goal pace. Like I'm not gonna be super stressed about that. So with that, like October's a little bit flexible, but once I get into November and December, we're gonna really kind of ratchet it down and make sure that we're hitting the right efforts. I'm gonna try to stay true to the plan. I'm gonna try to get some workouts in, but if I do mainly recovery days whenever I'm on my honeymoon, or if I do mainly like easy days whenever it's like the week of my wedding, then that's just kind of how it's gonna be. So but yeah, we can start up here, and we can see that the volume, it starts at 35 to 40 miles a week, and it progresses all the way to 60 to 65 a week. We have all of our numbers here, and so these are all fractions of total volume. And so this long run is an 18% long run, but then if we look next week, it is a 19% long run. And then the following week, it's a 20% long run. And then this is an 18, and then it goes up to 20, and I think it may go 20, 21, 22. And so this is a slow increase in the amount of volume that we see from our long runs. And so we have this pace, right? So we have this amount of distance right here, and we're slowly increasing the amount of distance as a percentage of weekly volume. And so we have a 35-mile week right here with a 18% long run. But by the time we get down here, we have a 60-mile week with a probably 24% or 22% long run, which gives us a 13.2-mile run here. And then if we run a 65-mile week, we get a 14.3-mile run right here instead. And so that's kind of the way it increases it from a percentage perspective. And we have all the paces kind of outlined here. So it's a 6 flat to 7 flat pace. We're going to try to work down to that 6 flat number a little bit more often than we work at this 7 flat number. We want these to be kind of harder aerobic sessions, but it's also going to depend on how hard the neuromuscular session is the day before. So if we hit a neuromuscular session, we hit a really hard workout, which we'll get to that in a second. But if we had a hard workout on a Friday and we're kind of like feeling pretty tired and we have a long run the next day, then we will probably dial it back a little bit and just try to run closer to that 7 flat number. But if you look over here, we have each distance lined out. So we have our medium run distance, which is also a percentage. So this is 16% for our medium run. Let me get this out. 16% for our medium run, and then our threshold is like a 15%, and then our recovery runs are 12% of our weekly mileage. And so we have all these data points, all these numbers right here that are laid out in front of us, and then we have all of our paces that we're trying to target. And a lot of these kind of come from the Jack Daniels calculator. And so if you go and you look at like the VDOT calculator, if you type in VDOT calculator, you can type in your race PRs or what your goal race PRs are, and it'll give you a list of paces and what you should hit those paces at. It'll estimate your threshold. It'll estimate the type of stuff what pace you should be running. And so for me, like I'm a 14:35K runner. I want to run 68 to 69 minutes in the half marathon. And so these paces are kind of what it spit out and what it estimated. And so I'm pretty comfortable with these. And this is kind of what I ended up at. And so 6 flat to 7 flat for our long runs, 5:40 to 6 flat for our medium runs. It's kind of our tempo in the middle of the week. Our threshold runs are going to be 5 flat to 5:15. Our recovery runs are going to be 6:45 to 7:10. And then our neuromuscular sessions are going to be 4:40 to 5 flat. And our VO2/specificity is anything from 4 flat to 4:40. And usually like these neuromuscular sessions, they're done at 5K pace or so. And so we can get down to that 4:40 range. That's about what my 5K pace is. And so we'll hit something like, if you look over here this first week, we have 4x500 at 5K pace. And so nothing too crazy, but a little bit of faster stuff so we can get to working that system, so we can start working that system a little bit more than what we've been working it. Especially running this, we've been running really high mileage. We built up over the last 10 weeks up to 100 miles. And so we went from 50 all the way up to 100. And now we're pulling back on that total volume and we're increasing the intensity. And so we have our recovery days kind of built out right here with a 4.2 to 4.8. Because it's such low volume compared to what I was doing when I was building up to running 100, we can actually run a little bit faster, hit that 6:40 to 7:10 range, as opposed to running 7:15 to 7:30 range. If I'm running 4.2 miles, I can run 6:45 pace pretty comfortably, hit some 4x10 second sprints after, and still feel just fine for the workout the next day. It's not going to inhibit the workout the next day. There's a lot of talk about gray zones. There's a lot of talk about, oh, if you train in zone 3, like you're not building fitness, like you're completely screwed. And I'm like, no, like that's not how this goes. Gray zones have been debunked. There's a great video from Steve Magnus out there that I can link below. And if I remember to link it below, I will try to link the Steve Magnus video below. If I forget to link it, then just comment and I'll try to link it. But there's a great video that he talks about gray zones, and he talks about how they've kind of been debunked, and no matter what type of zone you're running in, you are building fitness. And so it's all about balancing your stress and your rest. And if you can balance those two, then you will build fitness. And if you don't balance those two, if you're putting too much stress on your recovery days and you aren't recovered for your workout, and then it just becomes this snowball effect where you end up just feeling like crap in a couple weeks, then obviously you're not balancing your stress and rest, and you aren't building fitness, and you're probably going to start to go away from, you're going to start to fall away from whatever your goals are. And so let's go through each week. And so I'm gonna go down vertically, and I'm gonna kind of go through, okay, here's what the Monday recovery days look like, and Wednesday and threshold and medium runs. We're gonna kind of go down vertically so you can see how they progress. And so we look at it like a Monday recovery day. We have a 4.2 mile run, 4.2 to 4.8 mile run at 6:45 to 7:10 plus 4x10 second sprints. And then we go down and we have 4.8 to 5.4, and then we have 5.4 to 6 miles, and then we have 4.2 to 4.8, and then we're back up to 6, and 6.6, 7.2, 6, 7.2, 7.2, 7.2, 7.2, all the way up to potentially running 7.8 on these recovery days. And this is also like 6:45 pace, like I said. So 7 miles at 6:45 to 7 flat. nothing too crazy, but a good, like, comfortable pace for me. Then if we look at our threshold sessions on Tuesday, today we had like 5.25 to 6 miles, and we were trying to hit 5 flat to 515 for these reps. And so we had 8 by 230, ended up just doing 8 by 800, so didn't do 8 by 230. And I ended up averaging probably 226, and that was a pretty good little run. I forgot to do these 200s, but the goal is to subtly build up the amount that we can do at threshold. And so this workout today ended up being maybe half at threshold and then half at like a neuromuscular effort. So not exactly what we were going for, but it's still pretty early in the build. We still have pretty low volume, and so it doesn't necessarily, it's not impeding on anything. It's not making us less fit by doing it this way. And we probably need to, we're going to have to dial in the threshold, especially you'll see right here in a second whenever I start looking at these Tuesday workouts. We're going to have to dial in this threshold big time because we start to hit some really big reps and it's going to get pretty challenging. But if we look right here, we have 8 by 230 at goal pace, which is 20 minutes of volume with 60-second standing rest. That's what we did today. And the next week we'll have 7 by 3 minutes at goal pace, which is 21 minutes. And then the following week we'll have 6 by 4 minutes at goal pace, which is 24 minutes of volume with 60-second standing rest. And the following week we'll have 8 by 230, so we go back to whatever this first workout was that we did this week, and then we're going to up it to 2 by 5 minutes and 4 by 4 minutes at goal pace. So we have 26 minutes of volume. We'll increase that to 3 by 7 minutes and 1 by 5 minutes plus 1 by 230, which gives us 28:30 of total volume. And it starts to get pretty intense whenever you get into these 7-minute reps. You're like, okay, these are pretty dense. This is a lot of these are pretty dense reps. So you get into those and it kind of gets intense, and you go right here to these 9-minute reps and these 7-minute reps. So you have 2 by 9 minutes, which ends up being almost 2 by 3200 at 5 flat pace, which is pretty hefty. And we slowly build out. We have a 1 by 15 plus a 2 by 7 and a 1 by 230, which gives you 31:30 with 60 to 90 second standing rest plus 4 by 200. And ultimately the goal at the end of 12 weeks is to hit 2 by 15 minutes at goal pace with 60 second standing rest. And so we'll end up doing pretty much 2 by 3 mile at this goal with 60 second standing rest. So we'll hit a 3 mile rep at 5 flat pace, 60 second standing rest, then we'll hit another 3 mile rep. And that's pretty intense, but I've done stuff like this before. I've gone all the way up, I think, to 23-minute reps or 20-minute reps. And so I know that I can handle this type of intensity and this type of volume, and then I know that I'm kind of capable of doing that. But that's kind of what we have here. And then our recovery days on Wednesday, it's the exact same as on Monday, except we don't have the sprints and lifts, but still just a very similar build right here. And then these medium runs, this is a 5.6 to 6.4 mile run at 540 to 6 flat pace, which means 25 minutes at the 540 to 6 flat range. And so that means we could do probably a mile warm up, run 25 minutes at goal pace, and then cool down. And then we could hit a lift later in the afternoon after we hit that run. And so that's what we have on these medium runs. They slowly increase in intensity. So we go from 25 to 30 to 33 to 37. Ultimately, we land at 40 minutes. So we're hitting 40 minutes at goal pace with whatever our total volume is. And so we have 540 to 6 flat pace. And that is what we're trying to hit our 40 minutes at. And maybe we end up running 540 to 6 flat pace for the total run, depending on how we're feeling, depending on what kind of week we're having. If it's a really challenging week and we're feeling pretty beat, then we'll probably just stick close to the 40-minute number. But if we feel like we can do the whole thing at this pace, then we'll aim to do the whole thing at that pace. And so that's kind of what the medium runs are looking like. These are kind of like my tempos out of the week. And it's just a little bit faster. It's kind of a steady state type run. And maybe we'll increase this pace a little bit as well. We can start working from 540 down to 530 and maybe into 520s, depending on how fit we're getting. But we'll have to see what we're feeling like. I know I've worked down this medium run pace down into the 520s and 515s before. And so I think we could potentially get down that fast. But I think with where I am right now, 540 to 6 flat makes the most sense. And so we have that. And then over here with Neuromuscular, this is where we start to get into a little bit of faster stuff. So we're running 5 by 500 at 5K, then we have 6 by 600 at 5K, we have 5 by 700 at 5K, and 5 by 800 at 5K. And then ultimately, whenever we start to get into this VO2/specificity, we're running 7 by 500 at 5K and 3 by 300 at 3K. And so this is our rest ratio. This is our work to rest ratio. So if we run a 300 meter in 48 seconds, that means we get 48-second rest with a 1-to-1. For a 500 meter in like 120 or whatever, then we get half of whatever that rest is, which is going to be 40 something seconds, right? And so that's a 1 to 0.5 rest ratio, work to rest ratio, and that's kind of what we're working with right here. So we slowly like decrease the number of reps, but we increase the distance of the reps. And so right here we have 7x500 and 7x300, but by the time we get to the final week of the training cycle, we're doing 4x800 and 4x500. And so the rep length has increased, but the number of reps has decreased. And so we're running fast stuff for longer amounts of time. And that's kind of the way that I like to build in these faster sessions. And so we have these subtle neuromuscular sessions that are built in, and whenever we aren't doing neuromuscular sessions, we're doing recovery days on that Friday. That way we can line ourselves up for a little bit of a faster session on Saturdays. And our Saturday right here, it is a 6.3 to 7.2. So if we look at our first week of our long runs on Saturdays, we have a 6.3 to 7.2 mile run at 6 flat to 7 minute pace. And this has 12 minutes or more at 6 minute pace, and we'll slowly like increase this amount. This week specifically has a neuromuscular session, so we're only hitting around 12 minutes at this 6 flat pace, which is about 2 miles. But once we get into a week that doesn't have a neuromuscular session, we try to like run a little bit more distance at this 6 flat pace. So if we're aiming for 24 minutes or more at 6 flat pace, then this is like 4 miles at 6 flat pace. So we mix that into a 7.6 to 8.55 mile run, and we end up with around 40 to 50% of our volume done at the goal pace. And so the same is true with like this run. Since there's a neuromuscular session right here, we're only doing 18 minutes at 6 flat pace, which is around 3 miles, which is definitely manageable, definitely doable. Then since there's no neuromuscular session on this week, on week 4, we kind of have 36 minutes, and then we have 42 minutes on this one, and we have 48 minutes on this one. So by the end of it, we're going to be hitting 48 minutes at 6 flat pace, which is that's like 8 miles worth of 6 minute pace, which is pretty achievable, I think. I don't think it's going to kill us. I think it's going to be very manageable. It's going to be good. And then mixing that in with this 40 minutes at 5:40 to 6 flat pace as well on Thursday, we're going to still be building good aerobic fitness with both of these sessions. And so then we have our recovery days mixed in right here. And when we don't have our recovery days, when we have like this 40 minutes at goal pace plus 5x800 plus 30 minutes at 6 flat pace, we make sure that Sunday and Monday are big recovery days before we hit our next big session. And so we are going to be recovering pretty hard on these Sundays and Mondays, which means that this pace that's at 6:45 to 7:10 might end up being a little bit slower, just listening to the body and trying to figure out what we feel like. And so not going to be reckless with it, but I've done this many sessions in my training in the past, and my body responds to it well. My body responds to this level of intensity well, and I think that it's going to be really good to allow me to build fitness over these next few weeks. And so as we can see right here, we end up with, whenever we have VO2 and specificity, I'm just doing 30 minutes at 6 flat pace mixed into a 13 to 14 mile run. And so we hit a little bit of a harder section in the middle of these, but once the weather starts to cool off, 6 flat pace is like a breeze. It's pretty comfortable for me, and I know that whenever I'm going out and I'm running in cool weather, it is going to be a game changer to run these types of, to run 30 minutes at 6 flat pace. I'll be completely fine, and I think I'm going to be pretty comfortable with that. And then we have these recovery days built in, which are the exact same as the other recovery days that we have built in throughout the week. And then we see our weekly totals over here. So this kind of shows the progression. And so we build up for 3 weeks, we drop a week, and we build up for 3 weeks, we drop a week, and then we build up and we hold this max volume at 62.4 to 67.6. And that's going to kind of be our max range that we're trying to hit during this build. But looking at this, I mean, I think I'm going to be able to run pretty fast in a half, even with just this volume, especially whenever I'm getting to the point where I can run 2 by 15 minutes at 5 flat pace with 60 second standing rest and it still feel like threshold. I just know that once I get to this level, I'm like, okay, we can definitely run 5:10 pace or 5:15 pace for a half and secure whatever time we're trying to go for. The last time I ran a half marathon, it was on similar training to this, and I ran, how fast did I run? I ran 1:12:45, and most of it was a tempo. And I closed out the last 3 miles in around like 5:06 pace. And so we were able to negative split it pretty hard. The first few miles were 5:40, and we kind of kept hitting some 5:40 miles, and then ultimately ended up splitting the last 3 miles in like 5 flat to 4:50, and it was yeah, it felt pretty good. I didn't really feel all that bad, and that was probably 3 years ago. And so now I think I'm probably in shape for a 69 or 68 minute half, and we'll see what we can do. But this is how I see myself building mileage. This is how my body has responded. My body's responded well to training like this in the past with this higher level of intensity. And I think it's going to be the perfect fit for me to build fitness for a really solid half marathon. So that's what my goal is with this plan. And I definitely see it working. I definitely think it's going to be exciting to figure out, to see how the body continues to respond to this higher level of intensity. And we'll go from there. We'll see where we are. We'll go from there. And yeah, and so I think this is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.